quite quiet. But I don't know, it might be alright.
I mean, like, you sound alright, like, to each other. So I don't see why...
Sometimes when we've done it, it's been louder than you think when you actually go to edit it, so this is probably good. This is probably better.
Fair enough. Oh, we should keep it going, innit?
Yeah.
I just hate doing the intro.
Yeah, me too. Oh well.
To be fair, we have the intro song. We don't necessarily have to be like, hello and welcome back.
Not really. I need to get a new song because like I said, I saw that one on one of those adverts for like, you're going on a date with so and so. What do you do? Kind of stupid games. And I was like, it's using our song, which didn't make any sense in the context of the advert. It was like completely didn't work. And I was like, no, I've seen that because it's just like a free song, so I'm gonna get a new one. I want to get a better one.
Maybe we should reach out to like people and be like,
well, if anyone can make music,
Yeah.
you make us a song.
Yeah, make me a song and I'll sing it like I mean it.
What's that from?
So I think I just quoted some lyrics. I think it's play me a song and I'll sing it like I mean it.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Sounds like it's a thing, but I don't know what it is.
I don't know where it's from.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, we've got people interested
Yeah.
for coming on and talking to us, which is really cool.
I've had a lot of interest in that.
Yeah, it's just really cool.
So hopefully on the next one,
Yeah,
we will have someone on.
yeah.
And we'll try and, I guess, do a list and like sort of schedule people in, I guess.
Yeah, so we just want to get back up again and get recording stuff, and then we can actually start planning and that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what's happened at event since before Christmas. Well, I'm now a press ambassador for Student Minds.
Oh yeah,
which is very cool.
Good. Yeah.
So I might be on the TV, probably not, maybe. But basically now for Student Minds, the charity, the nationwide bit, not just the uni bit.
Yeah, that's good.
The press ambassador. So I got opportunities maybe to talk to the press with my mental health story. I went to a really cool training day.
Yeah.
Well, it was a training day, but it was in Leeds and it was quite fun.
Well, and there's the Student Minds Society here, so if anybody did want to...
Please join
that.
Student Minds, we're very small.
Yeah, Student Minds
it'd be great to have more people, and then we can do more fundraising and important stuff, and obviously I'm linked to the Student Minds main one because I'm the press ambassador thing, so...
Yeah. Oh, and it's small, but everyone in there's lovely and welcoming, and
Yeah, this is nice.
We do socials and stuff, but...
Yeah, and the socials can be better if there's more people to go to them.
And I think we're going to start fundraising and stuff.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Don't know exactly what to do. It's University Mental Health Day on March the 7th, I believe. So we should do something for that, and also on this.
I don't know if the uni as a whole is planning anything at all, like the student union or...
I doubt it.
Anything, but...
Yes, Thursday the 7th of March. So we'll think about that.
Is that just a Student Minds thing, or is that like a...
Well, it's like, it seems like Student Minds started it, but they've made it an official day, so it's like University Mental Health Day on March 7th, started by Student Minds, but it's now it's a whole thing.
Alright.
So who knows? I think it's new. I think it was on last year, maybe the first one. I'm not sure. But yeah, Student Minds is good, and the whole website itself is good. It's got quite a lot of useful things on it. I think it's just studentminds.org.uk. There you go. I wanted to record one before exams, but we never got around to it. Because that would have been a good thing to talk about. Exam stress, managing exam stress. I think the university or just ABBA needs a cat cafe for one.
A cat cafe.
Because that would be amazing.
That would
because
be amazing.
Everyone loves it. It's like when they do the dog days, everyone comes because they love it. Everyone just wants to touch an animal. So I think we need to do like kittens or something, just like exam stress workshop, have a basket of kittens for half an hour.
Yeah.
If I had the money on the business acumen or any kind of skills in that department, I would open up a cat cafe in one of the vacant like shop things here, because it would do great.
The thing is as well, like there's so many like people walking dogs in Abra. Like every time someone goes past that, like with their dog, it's just gonna like have to wrestle their dog away from the window.
Yeah, but oh well. Well, I don't know.
No,
Maybe you don't have them in the window. You have to come in to see our cats.
Yeah, no.
I don't, having a dog in Aberystwyth must be so annoying anyway, because you walk 3 steps and someone's like, "Oh, dog," or me. It's like, "Oh."
Yeah. I always like internally want to stroke the dogs that I see, but
and you have to ask. It's a bit rude if you don't, 'cause you never know like the dog where they're going to be or anything.
Yeah,
but
well, I remember at primary school once, people would tie their dogs up outside when they go to collect their kids, and one of them is like a little Jack Russell was looking at me with puppy eyes. I was like, oh. Went to stroke it, bloody bit me, didn't he?
Oh, Jack Russells though.
Sunk his teeth into my hand.
Jack Russells are very notoriously like that. It's just their instincts. It's like my friend's got one, and he's lovely, but he's aggressive. It's in his nature, and he gets confused. And he's a dog that you can't touch if you see him out. Even as sweet and as beautiful as he looks, he'll get scared and he'll freak out, and it's just not safe for anyone, really.
My nan had a Jack Russell mixed with a sausage dog.
Oh.
And he wasn't aggressive at all. Actually, he'd bark at everything, but he'd never bite anything other than wheels. He liked to bite wheels.
Yeah, mine is like
ones.
that. Oh, my dog, maybe it's a terrier thing as well, because my dog, a West Highland Terrier, like, I remember we found my old micro scooter in the shed a few years ago, which I used to love. Like, I rode it for hours. And we got it out and just wheeled it along the ground, just attacking the wheels, because she hated them. She hated them. So I don't know, maybe they just don't like wheels.
Yeah.
She has it in her head that she could also attack a car. But she's not going to win against the car.
As we would leave my nan's house, he'd be like running up, trying to bite the wheels. It's just like, no. But then again, he also had like a weird thing for towels. Like, my nan would get the swimming pool out in the summer, and me and my sister would like sort of be drying ourselves off with towels, and then he'd be trying to attach himself to the towels. Don't know what it was, but
I don't know, my cat likes furry blankets. Really likes furry blankets.
Oh. How about that? Your cat likes to massage the dog and stuff.
Oh, so cute. My cat and my dog are the best friends, absolute best friends, and my cat thinks he's a dog, I'm sure. Because we got my dog as a puppy when we already had a cat, so she's always known cats. And my cat, obviously, has always known my dog. So they're both totally cool with each other, and he'll just sit next to her, licking her for hours, just licking her fur. And then it's really cute. She loves it. She can get a bit annoyed sometimes, but she loves it. And then my dog's too old to go for walks now, because she's just too old and blind and all sorts of things. But when we used to go for walks, the cat used to come. And he'd trot along behind, going, meow, and so it must look really odd to people. My mum like walking along with the dog, and then this cat just running along beside and like nuzzling the dog. But that's so cute.
I used to live right next to my primary school, and well, you know how cats like to explore and go out and stuff. He'd occasionally walk into the playground, and like other kids would be like, "Oh, there's a cat," and try and stroke him. I'm like, "That's my cat, get away." Yeah, and they're like, "I don't believe you, it's not your cat." I'm like,
"Aw." It's not exactly an uncommon thing to own a cat.
Yeah. Just no one believed me. To be fair, I did lie a lot about well, I don't know, like I feel like it's a thing that kids do, just lying about odd things when you're a kid.
Yeah, well, I remember I was playing with some kids in a playground once that I just met, and they told me that they had Pokemon in the forest. And at the time, I believed them as well. I don't know how old I was, obviously young enough to think that could be plausible.
Now that statement could be plausible with the whole Pokemon Go thing.
Yeah, but they were like, "Oh no, only we can see them. They're shy, but definitely, totally, we have Pokemon in the forest that we're going to talk to."
Only they can see that. It sounds like the Spiderwick Chronicles.
I don't know. I was so gullible to believe anything. Like, my aunt told me that she's seen Minnie Mouse in the woods along the road to my house, and I spent the time going home. And a bit the imagination you have when you're a kid, though, because I remember being in the car and looking out the window at the trees and be like, "I can see her. Like, there she is." It's like in my head, I could see her.
So your mum was just like, oh my god, I've just turned my kid insane.
There we go. I saved it here. Yeah. Well, okay, to lead into it, the I don't know what day it was in aid of, but recently there was the whole Time to Talk day, I think, in the cafe here. You got a free coffee if you said, like, I'm positive about mental health or something like that, which I think they should have involved Student Minds in, but I think Student Minds are so small they didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
But they should
Wait,
have.
so who hosted that? Was it?
It's just the uni, like the union.
Oh.
And like we got an email about it, but because it's like Time to Talk day about talking about mental health. But I just feel like Student Ones should have been on that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Hopefully next time. I might ask them if they're doing anything for their uni mental health day, see if we could organise something uni-wide that the union could like send an email out or something to everyone like they did for that, because that would be good. But yeah, people aren't talking, especially men, because guys often don't talk to each other about how they're feeling and all that.
Yeah, it's that whole like mentality of, you know, like, I'm a guy, I'm supposed to be strong, like, you know, I don't need to be emotional. Yeah. Which is a very, I think, dated sort of look on. Unfortunately,
quite a lot of people still feel like that, or a lot of people as well have family members who feel like that, and then just have been raised to be like, oh, you know, it's not okay to talk about this, or this isn't a real thing. That's one of the things I was talking about in my press ambassador thing, where I had to write my story and sort of why I want to do it. I think because older people, just people from a different generation, I guess, of the time when mental health wasn't as understood, and it was like, well, what are you moaning about? Just get on with it. It's not real. Because people need to be educated that it is actually, you know, and it's okay to talk about it and to listen to people about it, and it doesn't mean you're weak or anything stupid like that.
Yeah, well, and it's like, you know, like, you go to your parents, and you're like, oh, I've been diagnosed with depression or something. They're like, oh, well, just cheer up then. Like, oh, thanks, you cured it.
Yeah.
Like that.
That's my favourite thing, when you tell someone you're anxious and they are, don't be. It's like, oh, thanks, it's gone. Wow, you're magic. I know, I'm lucky to grow up with my mum, sort of, she's trained in mental health, and so she's always really good and obviously really understanding, and both my parents have had mental health problems, and they're very, you know, it's always been a thing that I've understood.
Yeah.
So I think that's quite rare, and I didn't really realise that until I started meeting other people whose parents maybe just don't understand as much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, it's a shame. But anyway, continuing on from that, this article, I was going to talk about it before, but I don't think we recorded after I found it. It's an article from the 5th of December on the BBC.
Oh, yeah, around Christmas time as well.
Yeah. The male suicide rates in Wales are a national emergency. So the number of men who die by suicide should be considered a national emergency. A group of, I don't know what that means, AMs. I don't know what that means. Important people, I suppose.
Don't know.
Yeah, it says last year in Wales, 360 people took their own lives. 278 of them were men.
God.
And the number itself is the highest since 1981.
What's that in terms of the rest of the UK? Is that?
I don't know. It doesn't say. It's just about Wales. I assume it's worse than the rest, I guess.
Yeah.
But it said that these group of people are calling for there to be as big a focus on mental health as physical health in order to reduce the number of suicides, which is like, well, yes, that would be good if mental health could be taken seriously, because it's still not. Sometimes you can go to a GP, and depending on your GP, they can just, you know, just dismiss you, really, which happened to me quite a lot. Or if you're like me and you have a diagnosed mental health problem, like I have my anxiety and OCD, if ever I go to the doctor about anything legitimate, they'll just, oh, it's just your anxiety. Yeah. And it's like, well, I didn't get diagnosed with narcolepsy for such a long time because I just couldn't get them to believe me that it was real and it was something else.
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating. It's either one way or the other way.
Yeah. But then as well, I guess anxiety does have a lot of symptoms that come from it. Like it's like a really wide range of things, isn't it?
Yeah,
so
anxiety.
I guess it can be hard to sort of, but you know, I feel like doctors should be sort of thinking.
Or even if part of it is anxiety, it still means you should be taken seriously and listened to, and not just told, whatever, it's not our problem.
Yeah.
Because, it can manifest in physical ways that you do need help for, or at least help for dealing with it. And I think GPs should have generally a bit more mental health training instead of just saying, oh, we'll just refer you to the mental health team. You'll get an appointment in 6 months.
Yeah.
Well, that's not very helpful now,
Yeah,
They should at least know the basics in order to help you a bit.
Yeah, like 6 months' time, it could have escalated.
Yeah, well, that's another problem with the mental health services. You often don't get seen until it's desperate.
Yeah.
So instead of preventing it from getting that desperate, it's just, no, you're not mad enough. You have to come back when
you're this level of madness.
Yeah, and that's so bad. It's just awful. But yeah, that's what this group of people are campaigning for after this statistic. Training framework for public services about mental health. And a target to be introduced for waiting times for therapy. So maybe it can be brought down from 6 months, because sometimes it literally is 6 months.
Yeah.
It also says only 60% of children who ended up in hospital after self-harm actually received psychological assessment afterwards.
Oh, wow.
So basically cleaned up, on you go.
Yeah.
That's children. That's just
awful.
Terrible. It's so bad.
Yeah.
And all that said, this is this group that's saying all these things and what they want to do, and the government's just like, yeah, cool, we'll think about it.
Yeah. It's like, we'll do a petition where because I don't know, I've seen, people put forward things like that, and then one MP turns up.
Yeah.
And it's just all of these empty chairs, and it's just really sort of depressing to look at.
It's just no support. There's no support for people who are feeling suicidal or feeling at risk, really, or not enough. And there's not enough support for people who are affected by it, which is a lot of people as well.
Yeah.
And they're just like, well, we'll think about it. We'll do something in a bit. Meanwhile, 360 people died in a year of suicide. In Wales alone. 278 men.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. That's a lot of people. And a lot of men, because just not talking about it.
Yeah. Well, I remember seeing these beer mats that had messages on it like, oh, is your friend not here? Talk to them. Maybe there's a reason why they haven't come out for a pint or something.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And I think that alone can just sort of help.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a very good idea. I like things like that. That's one of the reasons we wanted to do this. Just the more awareness, even if it's not that official, I guess. Well, the more awareness, the better. The more people talking about it, the better.
Yeah. If we help one person, then obviously succeeded.
Yeah. Another say this. I should have read this article in more depth, more recently, but never mind. But I've had this experience as well. Said that the woman who set up this charity, one of the people who working to campaign for this, said she lost her son, and said when they were sort of being counselled after, everyone was supportive, but there wasn't much help, and she had a GP Googling it in front of her. Wow. And I've had that before.
What?
GPs Googling things for you, about mental health. I remember when I was sort of diagnosed with depression when I was 14, the GP just Googled it and made me do an online one of those, do you have depression tests?
Wow.
And I was like, wow, I've come to the doctor. Yeah.
I don't know. I guess it's not necessarily the doctor's fault. It's the
training. Exactly. There's not enough training for these things as serious things. I'm supposed to be for a GP, you have to know pretty much everything, but mental health is such a big issue now. It really should be one of the primary things that you're trained in, at least to a basic level.
I feel like most GPs would probably want to get that training.
Yeah.
Or at least they should anyway.
I don't know. The article itself is not that encouraging. It literally just, at the end, a Welsh Government spokesman said they welcomed the publication of the report and just said, we will consider the recommendations in detail along with those in the self-harm prevention action plan, in the midpoint review before responding in due course. So we'll think about it later, and then we'll respond when we're ready.
Nice.
And that's just a response. That's not doing anything. That's just...
Yeah.
It's so administrative, and so like, oh yeah, we'll file it and then send it to that department and they'll stamp it.
Yeah.
Like that scene in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy with the forms, like with the planet of people, those aliens that are really administrative.
Yeah.
So it's like it'll get stamped and then sent down, and then it's over there for 50 years, and then filed and then sent back, and then yeah. Oh well. Oh no, sorry. The woman lost her husband after they lost their baby, which is sad. Yeah, suicide remains the biggest killer of men under the age of 50. Considering the amount of men that die, which is all of them in one way or another, but the amount of men that die under 50, suicide being the biggest is it's quite a lot.
And that's, you know, in comparison to like knife crime
and illness and anything else, yeah.
God. It really is an epidemic, I guess.
Yeah, it's terrible. I feel like it's being talked about a bit, but it needs to be talked about more.
Yeah. As opposed to getting swept under the rug.
Yeah. It's interesting, all the stuff, sort of the feminism world's going more feminist, which is overall good, but then this is part of it. This should be a much bigger part of it. To destigmatise men, you know, men's emotions, and not making men feel like they have to be all...
Yeah.
Or that it makes you any kind of less of a man or a person if you're just honest about how you feel about things.
Yeah, well, when I was, like last semester in English, I was looking at like the New Woman, the late 19th century, and they also had this idea of the new man, which was a man that wasn't sort of that was emotionally articulate, that they expressed more emotion, and why almost to sort of men at the time were seen as more womanly because they were showing emotion and everything, but it's the new man is I think the better.
Yeah, it's so strange, all those sort of gender things that just are in our society because they were sort of made, or didn't, you know, from such a long time ago.
Yeah.
And really, there's no such thing as having like women's emotions. I mean, it's like humans have the same emotions, but it's just a societal thing that it's like, it's a womanly thing to have emotions. It's like, well, no, it's just that it's been decided that women are allowed to have them, and men are allowed the only ones who are allowed to be like strong and.
Well, in the late 19th century, that like women were seen to be sort of I don't know, like I don't know how to say it, but like they basically were seen as like sort of uncontrollable, like I guess
hysterical.
Hysterical, pretty much.
Yeah.
Because for expressing emotion.
And so well, it's not funny, but it's interesting, the whole thing about women and hysteria. And then, of course, because of that, they started getting treated awfully and put through all these things. And then men were like, oh, now they're worse. It's like, of course they are. You're making them like... Yeah. And it's true, the things that women used to go to the doctor and be upset because of genuine things that happened in their lives. And the doctors were called hysteria. And then doctors would masturbate them to reduce this hysteria. They would try and give them orgasms to reduce hysteria. But that was the thing doctors did, basically just rape women who are hysterical. So that's fun, but it's true.
Nice. Didn't know that. Now I do.
Yeah, I'll look into it more. They had lots of machines and things. But it's very strange.
Machines,
it's like,
Jesus Christ, versus Japan.
Not very high-tech ones, sort of.
No offense to Japan, but...
But yeah, it was because obviously women's sexuality wasn't the thing, it's just a need. And it was like, well, obviously because they're women, they're not having any actual feelings over this, so we just got to do this and get it out of them or something. It's like women's sexuality is dangerous, like only a doctor can do it. But yeah, I don't know, it's odd. Hysteria. It's just emotions and not being treated very well.
Yeah.
And then, of course, well, again, a stigma against mental health is, I'm sure some people did have mental health issues. And I don't think that's necessarily the way to cure them.
Yeah. Well, I remember when I did psychology for a bit at A-level, we were looking at multiple personality disorder, which still to this day is kind of up for debate as to whether it's an actual thing.
Yeah.
But back, like sort of, I don't know, 50, 60 odd years ago, it was widely thought that it was a real thing, and people would be hospitalised, well, like sort of, put in asylums and stuff for it. And I remember, I can't for the life of me remember the name, but there was one woman, she had, reminds me of that Split film.
Maybe that's what it's based on. It's based on, I think it's called, you're not allowed to say multiple personality anymore, it's called dissociative identity disorder. But it's the same thing.
And she supposedly had like I don't know if it was like 3 or 4 different personalities, I guess, inside of her, and there was one that was sort of more elusive, but it wasn't. It obviously not like in Split, where this personality would cause her to run up walls and stuff. Like it's not like that, but I don't know. It's interesting. Like
it is. There was a documentary I watched. I think it was like a BBC one from years ago. It's on YouTube though. This woman who has it quite recently, maybe like 10 years ago, and it's fascinating to watch because I'm still say we don't know if it's necessarily real or if it's not real, or the origins of it, if it's just a weird way of manifesting certain things.
Well, yeah, because I mean it could just be like,
because it's interesting, like how because this woman, she'd been through like some serious trauma as a child, like indescribable. No one even really knows, but they knew enough to know that it was serious. So she'd fully split into personalities, and they all had names and ages, different voices, different personalities. Like, where do those names come from, those ages? How do you know? And it's so fascinating. But watching it was amazing, and it was like, I have no doubt in this woman, like that was real. So it was crazy. She would just be sitting there, all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's someone else. She'd be like a little boy, and it was, wow. It was really sad, because obviously she couldn't live a normal life.
Yeah.
It's really heartbreaking.
Well, and I guess it's, I don't know, so like up for debate as to whether it's a thing, because it could just be this way of dealing with
well,
it.
That is what it is. It's just how do you define it as a disorder? Should it be defined by the personalities bit? I suppose that's why it's not called multiple personalities anymore. It's more dissociative, because your brain is just dissociating. Like when you're going through trauma, when your brain just kind of is too much, and it's just like, nope, I'm off. And so it forms into a personality. So it's like all the memories go to someone else, and you can switch now, just so you can physically deal with it. But dissociation,
it's like literally like sweeping like the one that's had all the trauma under the rug and becoming this other person.
Because dissociation, a lot of people get it to some degree. I get it to a degree. Sometimes I just sort of dissociate. You feel spacey. You don't feel connected to your body. Well, not necessarily randomly, but just occasionally, and especially when I get stressed. But it's on a very small scale to that, sort of the spectrum of it. And I suppose if you go through some real extreme trauma, then it makes sense that your brain's going to help, I suppose.
Yeah. Or at least try to.
Yeah.
Help.
So it's doing its best. It's maybe not the most convenient, but it's doing its best.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the whole thing years ago of just putting people in institutions, luckily we're not so like that anymore. Yeah. But in a way, it's like I was talking about this with my mum, who's worked in it for a long time, and it's not really controversial, but there's also a way of thinking about it. Like, I feel like we've got a bit too far in the sense that now there just aren't enough facilities specifically for people with mental health issues. And for some people, obviously the way they were run didn't go right. People were abusing their power. People were treated terribly. But some people would actually benefit from having more of these places open now, but run well. People who need to live in a place being cared for and having specialist treatment.
Yeah,
and we just don't have the buildings or facilities anymore, because all of a sudden the government was just like, nope, we don't do this anymore, full stop. Which at the time, because it was in such a state, but I feel there's not enough now. There's not enough places for people to go get treatment for them to get.
Well, yeah, well, especially when you're a danger to yourself and other people, that's
And so it's like inpatient wards in hospitals are just heaving. I've heard it's just terrible. There's not enough beds. That's why it has to be so desperate. And so it's getting people into really dangerous situations.
Yeah.
because we've gone from having way too many people just being sort of chucked away, often without cause, to having people who really need the help and don't have anywhere to get it from anymore.
Yeah.
But obviously, locking people up, just people who've got slight autism or people who have got anxiety or people who, you know, and that's terrible, and it's very good that we don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Some people say, oh, no one used to be autistic, no one used to be. It's like, yeah, they did. They just used to get locked away. And so it's very good now. So there isn't actually any epidemic of things. It's just that they're allowed to be people now.
They're allowed to be people.
It's like even gay people used to get locked away.
Yeah.
It's like...
look at Alan Turing, you know.
God, that's so bad. Tragic. When was it, you know, the new £20 note? Or is that what it is? Like,
yeah.
Because I voted for him to be on it. I wonder when do we find out about that?
I don't know.
Yeah, historically, we haven't done great with mental health anywhere, really. And I feel like it looked like it was going to get better until sort of a few years ago when everything went bad, and now we've got no money being used in the right places, and now with Brexit it's even worse because there's no money in the NHS at all, really, and they're trying to make it even worse, and it's just we're going back.
I don't know, people complain about the NHS, but the NHS is good. Like
the NHS is amazing.
You know,
like without the NHS, it's like I've used the NHS so much I've needed to. What would have happened if I'd had to pay for that? I wouldn't have been able to. Would have bankrupted my family.
Yeah.
You know, I might not even be here if I wasn't able to access the help.
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy.
And the issue with the NHS is literally the where the money gets spent in it.
Yeah. We haven't got too much longer, and I think we've got quite a bit. But I did want to just...
The OCD stuff.
Yeah. I wanted to talk a little bit about OCD, aka obsessive compulsive disorder, which I do have. I've been diagnosed with for quite a while. Basically, I've been struggling quite a lot recently with OCD because it seems to be that whenever I'm busy or I've got things going on and I'm generally managing to keep on top of things relatively well, and so not worrying too much, but so then the back of my mind, my subconscious will come out a bit more, and I'll end up just getting more consumed in OCD type things because it's like, I don't know, it's like my anxiety's like not going to let you go. And so when I seem to be relatively on top, my OCD gets worse.
Yeah.
And sort of for me, it's mostly sort of internal. Like I get sort of, I don't know really, compulsive thought, or not thoughts, just sort of I don't know how do you describe OCD to someone who doesn't really know about it?
Well, it says here, a lot of people with OCD feel very responsible for preventing a terrible thing from happening. An example, I must keep bacteria away from my family, otherwise they might become ill or die and it will be my fault. Others do not have these catastrophic thoughts, but might feel very uncomfortable and become increasingly anxious and distressed if they don't do what their head is telling them to do. Compulsions can be overt or obvious behaviours, cleaning, touching, moving things, or covert, hidden mental rituals such as counting, repeating things, questioning or checking. Few people only experience obsessions, and a small minority only compulsions. So,
so for me, it's mostly sort of in my head. I don't have many outward things, except, well, I do, mine's blinking. I sort of have a twitch on my blink card, and I think it's probably, people probably notice it or whatever. Yeah. It's sort of given me a tick for it, because it happens in my head, but then it just sort of comes out, because it's like too much. Yeah. So I end up blinking a lot, or too much, or like swallowing too much. But it's mostly, and I noticed it, I started when I was a child. I noticed it at school. When my teacher was talking, like reading from a book, I would be counting the syllables she said in tens, and I would get really annoyed if she finished like not on a 10, or like not on an even number. And I don't know why, I just started doing it mentally in my head every time anyone was talking to me, counting tens. And I don't really do that anymore, but I do just sometimes get stuck on counting syllables for no reason, like, and making it tens.
Yeah.
And going over in my head, and then my head will get it wrong, and I'll be like, no, and it's like I have to keep doing that until it's right.
So when you were tapping on me the other day, was that like
No.
Was that...
No, I also just tap, I think.
I
mean, maybe
it's
manifesting a bit, but
so
no.
you're like trying to...
No, I just tap.
Time.
Well, there may be. I don't know.
I thought you were trying to tap in time with like what I was saying or something.
You know, that's really interesting. I hadn't thought about that because I was like naturally just tapping in time to what you were saying, but I hadn't thought about that I was doing. But I probably was. That's what I was doing. That's interesting. So yeah, I guess sometimes I tap, tap along. But yeah, I don't know. And I also get hung up on the number 3. Sometimes I always wash my hands 3 times. But so see, and I was.
So I don't mean to laugh. Just, you said I get hung up on the number 3, and then I saw on the side of your headphones just as the number 2. I'm like,
oh no. I don't know. It's like, so I was talking to my therapist about it. It's like, it sounds so stupid when you say it out loud, but it's not. I know a lot of people do suffer with it. So when it's in your head, it feels like just normal. It's the thing. It's a bit odd. And it's annoying. But you say it out loud, and it's like, that's stupid. Why do I do that? And it's like, I don't know. I do though.
Yeah. Well, it's to say that there are also other variants of OCD, such as perfectionism,
pulling your hair out.
Yeah, hair pulling.
Trichotillomania.
Yeah, that one. Compulsive skin picking.
I do that as well. So I'm doing it right now.
Thumbs, yeah.
I'm doing it right now. I'm picking the skin off my thumbs until they're bleeding. I know.
Body dysmorphic disorder, which a person believes a particular part of their body is defective, and they constantly check, scan, and plan or make attempts to hide or change the defect. Defect in quotations.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm trying to think of the origin of my sort of weird numbers, because it's a compulsion itself. When my anxiety was really bad, like when I was like 16, and it was like, I had like a year, where it's literally, that's why there's this I haven't watched it yet, but on Channel 4, a new show called Pure, which is about OCD. And it's called Pure because the type of OCD she has is called pure OCD, as in it's mostly sort of intrusive thoughts that just come to you, rather than you necessarily having to do things.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's what it's like for me when I was like 16. I would have maybe like 20 seconds after I woke up of just like peacefulness, and then I would get this horrible, horrible anxious thought constantly, all day. I just panic attack all day because it just doesn't go away. I think for me at the time it was just getting ill, being sick, or I don't know now really, or just sort of collapsing. But it was just so intrusive. It was like, you have to do this, or you're going to be ill. You're going to do this, and it's so odd to say it out loud. But it's like you get no relief from it. It's horrible. And so I guess the only way to manage it in any way is to just sort of invent these little rituals, at least to give yourself a moment of like peace from it.
Yeah.
It's kind of, even though it's not really.
Yeah. Example that it gives here of the vicious cycle of OCD, it says. So it starts with an intrusive thought. The example it gives here is, the house will burn down. I must check the electronics.
That's mine. Now.
Yeah. And then it goes to the anxiety. Physical sensations of adrenaline response, physical urge to act. So then the compulsion, you go around the house checking all the plugs and sockets, and then you start again if you're interrupted. And then it says relief short term until the next time.
Yeah.
Like just basically a form of overthinking.
Yeah, but you can't stop it.
Yeah.
It's constantly, you can't get away from it. It's just whether you want to think or not. It's just like, hi, here you go. It's just this. And so you can't just ignore it.
Yeah, so
and then if you do ignore it, you get the guilt, and it's like, I can't ignore it. So then you have to do a compulsion to try and make you deal with that.
Yeah. It's like overthinking from the unconscious type
thing.
Like
yeah, and so for like the electronics thing, for me now, it's one of my things. Even though like I can see quite visibly, but my switches are off and things, and I know when I've left something on. And so for me, I kind of, some people have it where they have to do like turn the light switch on and off a certain number of times. But for me, it's just until it feels right. And it's like, well, it's never going to feel right. And so in the end, I have to just like go. And so I'm late for everything because I'm just standing there like, oh, I don't know, it's not ready yet. And it's just, it's really annoying. I don't know, but I also have to rush that. I just have this, because I've got such a, so apparently OCD is more common in people with like creative minds, which makes sense because I can get really vivid images of like my flat just bursting into flames, like out of nowhere, like electrical fire. And it's like, I know that's not how electrical fires happen. I know what fire it requires to start. And it's not just a plug socket existing for no reason, you know? Things don't just spontaneously combust, but I'm just like, yeah, but they might though. It's like normal thought, that's silly. OCD is like, yeah, but it will though, like, I promise it will. You got to do this. Or it's like, sometimes I'll be sitting on the bus, and I'll just get this vivid image of the like bus crashing, and so it's like, oh shit, to prevent this, I've got to like count or touch the seat, because this really vivid images come into my head of everyone around me dying in a horrific crash. It's like, thanks, I didn't want that. But now it's my responsibility. It's odd. It's so odd. It's just a weird manifestation of anxiety. But so I'm saying it's odd. I'm not saying if anyone else on this site think you're odd. Obviously not. It's actually I want to talk about because it's quite common, and a lot of people have it to some degree. You know, a lot of people have tendencies of OCD. To one extent or another.
I guess it is odd. I mean, I like the fact that your brain can betray you like this.
But it's not abnormal.
It's odd. It's
common.
Common.
Interesting, but strange. That same line gets worse when it's manifesting stress. Like the moment I got my dissertation to do, got things to get done, I've got plans, and I feel like I'm generally doing quite well. So in the back of my mind's like, oh no, you can't be doing well. That's not allowed. You're not allowed to be doing well. And so it's just making me get more caught up in these things. But, I don't know. I'll find ways to work through it. But I don't know, if anyone else is struggling with anything similar, then, you know, you're not alone with it. It does happen to quite a lot of people. And it won't last forever. And it's not real. I mean, it's real as in it's real to you, but there's things, you know, I know my flat's not going to spontaneously catch fire, and even if it did, it wouldn't be my fault in any way, you know. It would be deeply unfortunate.
Fault.
But I think of something else. I don't want to leave it without saying the right things to make sense. I think it makes sense.
It does make sense, I think.
So some people have it worse than others. Mine can be severe when I'm going through it. The rest of the time, it's just sort of something that's in the background. It doesn't affect me too much. It does in certain times, like when I'm leaving the house, or when I'm really stressed, I'll find myself doing these things more without realising, and I'm like, oh, okay, I've got to snap out of this. And it's a way of letting me know that I am stressed when I might not have had time to think about it. But I know a lot of people who get it just a little bit like when they're leaving the house, just double checking all the lights and things like that, or having sort of lucky rituals, which is, you know, for a sort of scale of it. It's in human nature to worry anyway.
So it says here, the OCD bully. Let's think about an imaginary playground bully in a school. This particular bully isn't violent, but he taunts, teases, laughs, and criticises. Cruel words. Imagine this bully picks on 3 victims this playtime. He approaches each victim with the same taunts. Hey you, you're so stupid, give me your lunch money now, or else I'll tell everyone how stupid you are. How does each victim react? Victim number 1 believes the bully becomes upset and hands over his lunch money. Victim 2 challenges back. I'm not stupid. I got 8 out of 10 in my spelling test this morning. You only got 4. Get lost. Get wrecked. Victim number 3 hardly reacts at all. He looks at the bully to acknowledge him, then turns around to go and play football with his friends. How does the bully react to each? He's probably going to come back to victim 1 most days. He might have another go at victim 2, but he'll soon give up. The bully's probably not going to bother victim 3 much. It says, our own OCD bully is just like that playground bully, and instead of reacting to the victim like victim number 1, believing the bully and doing as he says, we can choose to react like victim number 2. We can learn to challenge our OCD bully, or simply acknowledge the bully, then let the thought go and shift our focus and attention to doing something else. So, although I feel like sometimes, you know, shifting your focus can
it's
be
easier
quite
said
difficult.
than done.
Yeah.
But it's possible. I guess the goal is to just be able to ignore it and walk away.
Yeah.
Know that it is just a bully. Problem with OCD is that it tries really hard to convince you that no.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm legit. I'm not just,
Yeah.
But yeah, I like that. I haven't heard that before.
I don't know. Like, would it help if you had like a friend or something there to just be like, oh yeah, no, this is.
Well, it's like, when I'm leaving the house and I'm just like, just tell me it's fine.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, it's fine. Jeez, what are they doing? Someone in the pipes, just like with a little triangle.
Jeez. To talk about some of the things.
I'll go on with that. Yeah, I like that. That's what I want to bring up to say, that is normal. Everyone to some degree does get these thoughts, and as evidenced by this.
Well, yeah, I want to look at some sort of ones that I feel like everyone does.
Yeah.
But then the ones that are just like really bad, and you're just like, oh wow.
That's yeah. Well, and so, obviously I don't have answers in how to make it go away, because if I did, then I wouldn't have it. But there are certain things you can do, and I think this is quite good. There's a whole mindfulness trend at the moment, which, to be honest, I find a bit annoying. But there are elements of it which are obviously incredibly useful, and how to, when you're in a serious sort of state of it, it's getting too frustrating to bring yourself back down and ground yourself about it. So, thinking differently. We easily get caught up in our thoughts and discomfort. It's very helpful to learn to change our focus of attention so that the distressing thoughts and feelings, while still there, fade a little into the background. It's easiest and most effective to start with our breathing, as that will also calm down the body's adrenaline response to anxiety. So breathing. It sounds stupid to say that breathing's really important, because everyone's breathing all the time.
Yeah.
But when you're really caught in a really bad anxiety, sometimes the only thing really, and it's something that will help the most, is to just sit down and just put everything into your breathing.
Yeah, like focusing on it.
Yeah. So just mindfully breathing. Just concentrate on your breathing. I can't remember the exact numbers that you're supposed to breathe in and out, but I know that you breathe out more than you breathe in, and it's good to sort of ground yourself, to sit on a chair or something and sort of go through your senses, like, well, what can my hand feel, the chair, my feet are on the floor. And something that my therapist told me is to look around you, sort of do mind exercises like, can I find 3 white things in front of me? And so just to take your mind off something else that's bullying you, just think, no, I'm just doing this. It's like, right now I can see 3 white posters. And even though that's just one thing, but like for 5 seconds, I was thinking about that and not thinking about, the worry thing. And I think that's really useful. Do that for, a certain amount of time. Yeah, that's not as useful as I wanted it to be. But basically that's what it's saying. Mindfulness is noticing things, noticing where you are. Just actually think about what you're doing. So choose an activity to do mindfully. So, I mean, fair enough. Sounds silly. I don't know, I think these things sound silly, but it does make sense. Be in that moment. See, hear, smell, touch, feel, breathe. So just bring yourself out of thoughts, back down to earth. Yeah. Feel, yeah. I don't know. I don't describe that very well. I think that makes sense. I just want to read it out because I find it's a bit annoying, but even if it can just calm you down for a little bit,
Yeah. Yeah, it says here, choose an activity to do mindfully throughout the day for 1, 2, or 5 minutes. For example, drink a cup of tea, walk, wash the dishes. I almost said walk the dishes then.
Just get your dishes on a dog lead and just smash them across the ground.
I mean, certainly take your mind off things, doesn't it? So, sounds a bit cheesy, but it says be in that moment right now. See, hear, smell, touch, feel, breathe.
It is useful. I say when you get caught up, and it's easy to remember just to actually acknowledge what's around you, instead of just sitting there in your head. It's like, oh no, I'm only just sitting here actually. It's like, one of the ones I got told to do was like, pick one thing for every sense. And say, but I can't always smell something. It's like, right now I can't really smell anything in particular. It just smells like the air. So I can pinpoint what it is.
Sounds like the radio room, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it's like, well, sometimes I can't taste or I can't really hear anything, so you can't do it quite, but, basically just think about your senses and something to pick on, and hopefully it does help to calm you down, along with breathing. But yeah, the interesting thing I've got is this statistic of intrusive thoughts people have, and people who don't have a diagnosed mental health condition. That was stipulated. Just study a list of intrusive thoughts that flashes of people have had for whatever reason, and how many people, the percentage of people who actually said, yeah, I've had this thought. And there isn't a single zero on any of them, which is quite interesting, but there's percentages with female and male.
So yeah, the research was done from a survey of 293 students, 198 female, 95 male, none of who had been diagnosed with a mental health problem. So this is literally just what a, in quotations, normal person think about. And so some of them are quite shocking. According to this, thinking about having sex in public, 78% of the males said they've thought about that. 49% of the females said that they had. So that there's quite a large difference between the.
I think my favourite one is holding up a bank.
Yeah, holding up a bank. 6% of the females in the study said that they'd thought about it, but 32% of men said that they
imagine themselves going in like, give me the money.
I mean, I've thought of it. I mean, obviously, I'd never do it, but
I was
I've
like,
thought about it.
I wonder if I could.
Yeah.
I wonder how I'd have to disguise myself.
Yeah, well, I sat there and I've, maybe planned it. Yeah.
So even things you wouldn't necessarily have thought that some people had thought about.
Yeah.
Things like pushing family members in front of a train or whatever, things like that.
Yeah, that's the one of the. Yeah, apparently 5% of women in this study had thought about pushing family in front of a train or a car. 14% of the men had thought about it.
And so that's not necessarily thought about doing it, but just had had a flash of that thought or been intruded by it. It's like I get it quite a lot. Not that particularly, but when I'm going on the tube and I walk near the train, the sides of the train, I get such a vivid image of either just falling onto the tracks or someone just pushing me, and it just comes into my head really bad. And I hate walking alongside people on the tube tracks because I just can picture myself getting squished by a train.
I've had that with people walking fast and sort of shoving past me.
Yeah, because they're not looking where they're going. I'm just like, oh my god, you could literally just knock me onto the track.
Just because I've seen CCTV footage of people getting falling on and stuff, but swerving into traffic. 55% of women had that intrusive thought, whereas 52% of men had that. But the general sort of gist of this data shows that for the most part, like for most things, men seem to have more of these intrusive
Men
thoughts.
seem to have more of the aggressive ones.
Yeah.
Women have slightly more of the ones where it's more about worrying or embarrassing yourself. Which I think is interesting again with the whole men and the sort of macho thing you have to be, and sort of worrying about aggression or.
Yeah, so it says here like removing dust from unseen places, or 41% of females had that, whereas only 29% of men have that, and it's more, I guess, worrying about how I don't know, the house looks or something if you've got people coming around.
Or about cleanliness.
Yeah. But the more sexual ones, the more violent ones are certainly more like in a higher percentage for men.
Yeah. Yeah. In any case, it's interesting.
Yeah.
I just think of some of the more normal ones, even swearing in public. It's quite even. 34% of men, 30% of women. Breaking wind in public, 49% of men, 31% of women. So I don't know what. Well, I suppose.
So that's about half the men in the study, so I say.
Yeah. So and I guess the other half just don't care.
I'd only do that if it was. I mean, maybe everyone thinks about it sometimes, you know, when you got fart.
Women are a lot more worried about catching a sexually transmitted disease. 60% of women, 43% of men.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, it's interesting, and the point of that is that everyone has these thoughts to some degree. And it's interesting just to actually see it written down, people who don't have a diagnosed mental health problem, because, you know, everyone suffers from mental health to some degree.
Yeah.
It's just that sometimes you get to have a piece of paper that says it. And
yeah, some people who don't have a mental health problem think about fatally pushing their friends and strangers.
Even just for a second. And it doesn't mean they're a bad person, although they actually want to do that.
Yeah.
But sometimes these thoughts can just come in. But yeah, I think we should wrap it up because they got to come in soon. I think in lieu of an intro, let's record an outro and put it at the beginning, because I'm on the roll now. So this was/is about to be, depending on where I put this, this doesn't matter, the Work in Progress podcast, which is a mental health podcast. Student mental health podcast where we talk about stuff. I think this is probably the best episode we've done because we actually talked about some quite good mental healthy topics, and it's quite, I want to say meaty, but that sounds odd. But it's I'm a vegetarian, but it's very meaty. I don't know. Anyway, and I'm Jazzy.
And I'm David.
Yeah, and my lecturer described my speaking voice as listenable, so you're welcome. And,
changing the name to the Listenable podcast now.
Yeah, the Listenable podcast. I think that's a great selling point. But yeah, I think that's been good. I think we've covered everything.
Nice.